can be answered and interpreted multiple ways and various different ways, depending on who you are and how you're approaching and looking at the situation philosophically. When I ask you what would be good, you could mean record-wise. You could be talking about developmentally. You could be talking about recruiting. I'm going to blend all of it. I'm going to blend all of it together. So let's get into this. Let's talk about win-loss record first. I always talk about talent being paramount over everything else. Coaching, building guys up, all that stuff. Talent's king. You're not winning a title without great talent. Based off that foundation alone, which is a simplistic way to look at it, I get it. It's a surface level starting point to start looking at this stuff. By that measure, 10-2 should be on the low end, right? Think about it. Give Ohio State the edge in talent week 1. I think that's fair and nobody could deny it. And then I see Notre Dame and Clemson pretty darn close in talent. Southern Cal, there's no doubt. We all know they're on the rise, especially offensively. But they're not going to be at Notre Dame's level this year for sure. There's no way. There's no way. So when I look at the rest of the teams we play, Notre Dame has way more talent than everybody else. So win those games. Win those games. Now, I understand there's a lot of moving factors that go into this. Injury, how quickly the new staff learns everything and gets acclimated. I understand there's a lot of teams are going to be better or worse than what we're looking at right now, just looking at their name. There's always teams you think are going to be good and they end up not being that good, and some surprise teams. I get that equation to come up with a win-loss record's complicated and there's a lot of moving factors. I get it. But the one that isn't going to move that much is overall talent. I pretty much know who has it and who doesn't. Based on that calculation, 10-2 should be your low end based on the talent already in these buildings. Here's where that gets tricky, though. Ohio State week 1. Say you lose that ball game. That means you have almost no leeway the rest of the year to end up at 10-2. That's what's so hard about taking a loss week 1. You got to run 11 more weeks to end up 11-1. It's just a tough start. Tough start. But I could see with health, the emergence of some good players and a little luck, go 11-1. Go 11-1. Here's the second part of this, and it's more philosophical, and I'm already debating people on this issue. John, if Brian Kelly went 10-2, losing to the two best teams we play, you'd absolutely lose your mind, but now you're saying that'd be okay for Marcus. How does that make sense? These are vastly different situations. Brian Kelly's been losing to the best teams we play most years after 10 or 11 years. Not 0 years, not year 1. 10 years in, he was losing to the best teams we play. Not only that, but the bigger part of it is, at no point in the Kelly era was there indications at all that there was going to be a higher ceiling that was attainable soon. That's the big issue. He plateaued. I knew it. You knew it. And most importantly, Brian Kelly knew it. And that's why his new nickname is Swamp Thing. Okay? So, nobody's year 1 could be judged like somebody who's been around 10 or 11 years. Unless the guy leaving just won a title and left a roster that's jacked with elite talent, proven you already know it, put it on cruise control, go win again. But that's not what Brian Kelly left in the cupboard talent-wise. The bowl game showed us and exposed some of those weak areas of the roster. So there's a lot of recruiting and development here that needs to be done by Marcus to get to the level we need to get to. And I'm willing to give a guy a grace period on that. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Nobody can undo 11 years of Brian Kelly style recruiting in 1 year or 0 years. It's just not physically possible. It's not. So the way I would look at 10-2, Marcus Freeman's first year, combining what he's inherited, how quick it is, the new staff, and a tough schedule right out of the gate, I would look at this much different than a Brian Kelly year 12 going 10-2, losing to the good teams we play. The records could be identical. The situations couldn't be more different and require a different approach when you're looking at it than this. So, record-wise, based off the talent, assuming fair, decent health, 10-2 bottom, 11-1 top, 12-0 would be magical Lou Holtz territory. So that covers record. What about development? Here's what I'm looking for most out of the development angle of this. I want to see our weaknesses improve. I want to see areas of this team that fell short get shored up and be not detriments, but contributors to the reason that we're winning games. Wide receiver play, need to improve. Linebacker play, need to improve. Everything in the secondary needs to improve. Those are areas I'm looking at right away. All right? So it's much more fun to look at the areas where we're really good at and focus on them and enjoy them and look at them. If we think the offensive line's going to be great again, that's fun. Looking at what Michael Mayer does is amazing. I even love all the depth and different skill sets the running back room provides. Those are all fun things to look at. I want to see those things be great. I'm much, much more focused, though. I have my microscope on areas that Kelly left in weak spots. How quickly can Marcus shore those areas up through development, scheme, recruiting, all of that? That's a huge factor to me, and that is the reason I'm looking at our weaknesses rather than our strengths. All right? So, here's the next one. In the short term, I need to see a clear direction at quarterback, right? Like I just need to see confidence that it's trending in the right direction. We're building an offense out that works more for Buckner and Pine's skill sets, accentuates their strengths, minimizes their weaknesses. I need to see a spark there. We need to see something to give us some confidence. Irregardless of what happens with the recruiting. I think we all have our eyes on maybe a quarterback recruit that could come in the next year and challenge to play and be the starter right away. I can't count on that till we have that. And I don't see it yet as a sure thing. So we need to see some clear developmental direction with the quarterback position that gives the whole program confidence for next year. Okay? So now that we covered record based on the talent, 10-2 low end or better, combined with seeing development in the areas that we just talked about that have been relative weaknesses compared to other areas. Okay? Now that we talked about those factors, tie those into a top 5 recruiting class finish for 2023, and you'd be hard-pressed to find me saying it wasn't a really strong first year for Marcus Freeman. So, I want to see these things all come together. The record, I think, is reasonable. Development in certain areas, shore up some of our weaknesses, tie in a top 5 recruiting class, and it's a nice, tidy bow, and then it's off to the races. Here's the thing. about this 2023 recruiting class that I like more than anything else, that gives me comfort and confidence more than anything else with this class. Of our 9 commits so far, Nick Saban's offered 7 of those guys. I like that hit rate. Okay, that we have 9 guys, Saban's interested in 7 of them. That's a beautiful sign that Notre Dame recruiting is trending in a more elite direction. Now, I've heard this argument. We have a guy committed, blah, blah, blah. We love it. Then I see on Twitter, oh, Nick Saban just offered this guy. And then the player puts out a tweet. Thanks, Alabama, Nick Saban, for offering me a scholarship. Sure enough, then I have Notre Dame people saying to me, well, there goes that guy. You're not going to land him once Nick Saban offers, and why would you come to Notre Dame instead of the NFL factory that Alabama is? You know, we're not going to be able to hold these guys. Listen, that is a very short-sighted, weak, philosophical argument. What's your alternative? Do you want a recruiting class full of guys the best teams don't want? How is that going to get Notre Dame over the hump? I just can't wrap my mind around your argument. That I don't get it. It makes no sense. It's so short-sighted. So you would rather have a 22-guy recruiting class, the best teams aren't interested in those guys, and then you think, what, a magic wand is going to make them elite and we're going to win a championship? It isn't going to go that way. You need to be swimming in the deep end with these elite teams and win some of those recruiting battles. Find guys that have Alabama offers, but pick Notre Dame instead for various whatever reasons. But it is a great sign, not a negative sign, that Nick Saban wants 7 of our 9 guys. That makes me so happy. Even if we lose a commitment or 2 because of this, because they get offered by Saban and all the NFL and all the heritage of winning recently and all that, even if we lose a couple guys, still, this is the right way you want to do it. This is the right trend. Notre Dame recruiting's trending upwards towards elite territory. This proves it. Stave off Alabama. Hold your commits. Even if you didn't, this is better than the alternative of having a group of guys the elite teams aren't interested in. This is a great, great sign and a major, major positive. So, if you could tie in double-digit wins this year, get a lot of development out of your quarterbacks and some of your weak areas and have guys step up, wrap that all up in a top 5 recruiting class, I think Marcus would be set up for a gorgeous, gorgeous long run for Notre Dame and would be able to push Notre Dame into new territory. And that's the goal of all this, is for Marcus Freeman to be able to get this to that next level Brian Kelly never could. If he's able to complete these items on this list, I think that sets us up beautifully. So when we're talking about 2022, that's what success looks like to me. Double-digit wins as a minimum, great development in areas where we need it desperately, and keep on being relentless in recruiting. That's the formula to me of what a successful first year under Marcus Freeman would look like. I'm very interested to hear what you guys think. Anything I missed, anything you look at being differently. This is how I see it, and I hope Marcus can get it done. Go Irish.